The Ashanti region protests strongly over the abrupt termination of their contract. Plus, rail transport in Kojokrom in Sekondi Takoradi Metropolis grounded for 2 years. News Central, Marina has the day off. I'm Kemini Amano. The news starts right now. Naming of the Ghana Cedi by Bloomberg as the world's best performing currency appears to have given some businessmen and women a lot of confidence to trade. The Cedi this month appreciated nearly 16% against the US dollar since the start of April 2025, according to Bloomberg. The currency's rally has helped release inflationary pressures, contributing to Ghana's lowest inflation rate in 8 months. Consumer price inflation fell to 21.2% in April, down from 22.4% in March. Now, government statistician Alhassan Idrisu announced in Accra on Wednesday. Now, monthly price increases slowed to 0.8%, driven largely by fallen import costs due to the Cedi strength. Now, Bloomberg data shows that since the beginning of April, the Cedi has outpaced all global currencies in terms of gains against the US dollar, bolstering consumer confidence and easing pressures on the cost of imported goods. Now, despite this progress, some analysts say it is unlikely that the Bank of Ghana will rush to lower interest rates at its upcoming policy meeting. Let's have a quick chat with Professor Peter Korte, who is an economist. Prof, I appreciate your time with us this afternoon. Did you see this coming?
Good afternoon to you and to your discerning viewers. I saw it coming, but not on the scale we are seeing. I mean, given that we are on the IMF program, and then also given what is happening in the global scene, I expected the Cedi to stabilize. And of course, given what locally we've been doing in terms of what the Bank of Ghana itself is doing, continuing the legacy of this gold for oil and also gold for our reserves, it's really strengthening the dollar. And of course, the Bank of Ghana has been engaging stakeholders, key players, industry, etc. And I think that is what you need to carry the people along. And given also the fiscal authorities, what the prudent fiscal measures that are being proposed, right, though it's early days, yes, I think all of this brings some confidence. And of course, the posture of the president himself, trying to assure Ghanaians that things are going to be better. I mean, even if it hasn't happened to a greater extent, the posture itself that we're going to ensure that there's prudent spending, we're going to ensure that we minimize waste. All of this reduces speculation.
Right.
So, I think, and let's not also forget that globally, the dollar has been losing strength. In January, it was 0.784 to the pound. Now, it is 0.74 to the pound. It tells you globally the dollar is not doing it because of the geotensions and the rest. So, what is happening now is due to global happenings. It's also due to domestic policies.
Some reforms domestic that are being taken on the domestic level.
Exactly.
But is this sustainable? Is this trend we're seeing sustainable?
Oh, certainly it can be sustainable if what has been proposed in the budget, what has been put forward, and what Bank of Ghana is doing is also sustained. So a lot of this thing is also driven by speculation. people speculate a lot. When they lose faith in the local currency, they store their wealth in other forms, in either gold or houses or real estate or in other currencies. And once we are sure, Ghanaians are sure, once the economy is stable, why not? They will hold the cedi. So it can be sustainable depending on domestic policies.
I see. And you know, I hear you mention speculation a lot. Is that to say that the speculation that had hitherto been named as the reason for the cedi's poor performance has stopped?
Oh yeah, it's minimized. It's not stopped completely. It's very minimized because when inflation is declining, when people have assurance that there is not going to be waste, there is not going to be misapplication of funds, when people are sure that when they store their wealth in cedi, they are likely to get a good value for their currency. Why not? Speculating will come down. So speculating has reduced to a greater extent. If you cast your minds back, the first quarter of every election year, you will find the exchange rate depreciating quite rapidly. This year, we haven't seen that happen, although it's a post-election year. It tells you that the IMF program, the assurance we are seeing, and also the global scene and internal domestic policies are all working towards minimizing the speculation and the turbulence we often see on the international, on the currency market.
Indeed, Prof. Hang on for me because I want us to tackle expectations now, particularly expectations of consumers and businesses alike. Let's take a listen to how some people in this country are hoping that the reduction in the Ghana cedi, you know, the impact they expect it to have on how they consume locally. Let's take a listen to some voices from the streets.
Someone who bought goods which are 17 cedi as a den, and now the dollar has reduced. You still, if you have to sell it $10,000, it's still $10,000. It means that person too is somehow losing at. But in any way, it is a good thing that the cedi is now gaining power.
I am happy the cedi is appreciating. It will make goods affordable.
It is an about for my Nigidi say, goods legal so then, Nibo for me, me enjoy our country.
We haven't seen decline in prices, even though the cedi is appreciating against the dollar.
Well, some consumer voices on the streets, Prof, mixed reactions to the reduction. But one thing is clear that, or the appreciation of the cedi, one thing is clear that people are expecting that domestic goods prices will also go down. Is that a fair expectation? Is that realistic?
Well, that is realistic, but it might take a while. How long, one cannot tell. Because some of them have imported goods at the old, at a higher exchange rate, 16, 17. And those goods are in stock. Until they sell them, they cannot reduce the prices and sell at a much cheaper price. So some of those goods have to clear. Then the new ones that come in might come in a bit cheaper, and therefore they can then reduce the price. But where there is competition, new goods being sold at a cheaper price compared to the old one at a higher price, you see some movement. Once there is competition, there is demand and supply, you see some movement towards a reduction in the price of these goods. But let's also not forget, we are looking at consumers. Let's also not forget that exporters, when the exchange rate appreciates, our goods become expensive internationally, and therefore we are not able to sell as much as we could. So the appreciation also hurts exporters of our goods. So we have to look at the net effect. Consumers will gain, but exporters will be hurt when there is appreciation in the currency.
But I mean, how then do we deal with that? Because it would appear we would have to strike a balance between our exports and imports. Because the only way, one of the ways we can sustain this is to have a good balance sheet export import. And so if we are going to have expensive imports and we're going to have expensive exports and, you know, cheaper imports, how is that going to work?
Well, so it depends on export imports. If we export more, and depends on what we export, and then it also depends on, in the economic terms, says the elasticity of your supply. In other words, if the higher price that you are exporting will lead to a major reduction in how much those who buy from you will react to the price, then you are going to suffer. But sometimes it's just going to be a marginal decline in how much you export. So it depends again on the responsiveness of consumers or to purchasers of your export commodities. But certainly, lower import prices are good for consumers, and we tend to import more, far more than we export. That's one of the things we see. We tend to import more. So lower import prices are good for consumers, are good for Ghanaians, for their livelihood. Except to say that in Ghana, prices are sticky downwards. Oftentimes, when exchange rate depreciates, you don't find a significant decline in the prices of goods and services. But as soon as, when exchange rate appreciates, you don't find a major movement downwards. But as soon as it depreciates, and you see traders, suppliers, etc., reacting quite rapidly, increasing their prices. So we need to look at the middleman as well. How to engage the middlemen who make goods quite expensive. Sometimes profiteering also comes in, and some level of consumer awareness and education is important.
Let's do a last one on impact with regards to our interest rates. We know that the MPC, the last review only went up by about 1%. What are your expectations of what impact the progress collectively, the inflationary figures, the Forex appreciation of the Ghana Cedi, what impact do you expect it to have on the next policy rate, on lending rates, bank to bank, and then to individuals and consumers like the rest of us?
Okay, so when the Monetary Policy Committee meet, they look at all kinds of factors. The key ones are exchange rate movements. You also look at inflation expectations, whether inflation expectations are building up, and then they look at the level of liquidity, with the level of money in circulation. So all of this will come to play. So it's not just the exchange rate that they will look at and then say, look, given that the exchange rate has appreciated, we are going to reduce the policy rate. They will look at how much liquidity is in the system, how much funds banks are holding, excess funds banks are holding, individuals are holding, so that they use the interest rate to kind of mop up the excess liquidity. Otherwise, that can lead to inflationary pressures. So it's early days, yes. I mean, the decision is not going to be based on just the exchange rate, but also inflation expectations, liquidity in the system, whether the economy is even growing, whether there is overheating in the economy. So these are key factors that they take into consideration.
Very well, Prof. We'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. Professor Peter Quartey is an economist. We've been talking about the Cedi. You've had a number of, jargons being used. I want to run you through what some of those things mean, what we are covering about that. The first one will be what the performance of our economy has been over the last quarter or two. We'll start off with inflation, which is one of the things that I had mentioned earlier. It's been down from 22.4% last month. It now stands at 21.2%. We're looking at what the month-on-month change is. We see 0.8% increase between April 2025 and that of March 2025. But what is the breakdown of all of these things? Food inflation also eased to 25% from 26.5%, while non-food inflation also fell to 17.9% from 18.7%. Does it mean your food is cheaper? Maybe, maybe not. But what's the historical context of all of this? Inflation has exceeded 10% since September 2021 due to currency depreciation and debt crisis. So that's the historical context that we are working with, but we are seeing things improve. And so what's the future projection we are making? That inflation projected at approximately 16% by end of 2025, returning to 6 to 10% target band by mid-2026. So we are looking at a drop even further. But that's not all. We've been talking about the currency for a very long time since the broadcast began today. We already know that it's appreciated some 16% since April began. Month on month, the change is about 2% thereabout. So now the Cedi stands at 13.2%. Let us know how you are getting it wherever you are at this time. But the recent performance is driven by a few things. BOG injecting some $490 million into Forex markets in April 2025. Now, this has been a serious matter for some other economists who do not think that the appreciation of the Cedi, particularly this month, is sustainable. The point being, if you're making dollar available on the market, supply and demand push and pull factors could make the Cedi appreciate. And some have questioned whether or not it is sustainable. We know that the central bank governor, Dr. Isiama, has said that, look, it is not significant. But more importantly, as we've heard from Professor Peter Korte, it's not just this. It's also a number of measures, and we are going through those other measures. The tight liquidity measures, we've already spoken about that. But also significantly is the increased gold exports, because we see that between January and April 2025, there's been a huge amount of gold exports, or a reduction rather, of gold exports. Yeah, so we see some $2.7 billion of gold for this quarter of the year, January to April, at $2.7 billion. When you look at the same period, 2023, it's only 670.5 million, which means we are selling more of our gold. We are getting more of our gold to sell since the new administration took over. I cannot say at this time if it's because of the gold board, but at least we are seeing some developments there as well. So since we're talking about gold, let's go over here and look at the breakdown of gold purchase. Now, the gold purchase program has ensured that Ghana has reached deals with 9 more mining companies to purchase 20% of gold production from this country. What's the impact it's having on our gold reserves? It means that we've had a boost of up to $9.4 billion this year alone. Why is that happening? We also see that small-scale gold exports is soaring from $2.7 billion from January to April 2025. Same period in April alone, this month, last month alone, there was $897.6 million of gold exports from this country. This is very different from the picture we had earlier, particularly to do with small-scale gold exports, when we couldn't track and trace a number of gold exports. We're also seeing it have an impact on our interest rates, which is what I was discussing with Professor Korte, whether or not we should expect the policy rate to reduce so that when you and I and any other business goes out there to look for some money, there will be excess liquidity in the system, or enough liquidity in the system for us to get the money. But what would that take for it to happen? We are saying that already we know that the IMF has a lot of confidence in this country. The mission chief indeed says that they expect a decline towards the program's goals. We also know that the central bank outlook is expecting that in May, despite disinflation, there will be no immediate rate cuts. And so that's what we are saying, that we are projecting that despite the marginal increase of 1% in the interest rate, in the policy rate of March, we don't expect that when the policy committee sits, they will make any changes at all. So now let's look at the USD to Ghana Cedi change. This is where we started from March 1st, 2025. 15.5 cedis. And this is where we are ending, right here. May 8th at 13.19, 13.2 cedis. That's the exchange. So if you're buying or selling the dollar, it would just be around, it would just be around this range of figures. Now, I'll skip over this one and move straight to the Forex interventions. Then we'll wrap up and have more conversations on this. The BOG injected some $490 million into Forex market in April 2025, leading to interbank rate falling from 15.36 to 14.91. Right, so there you have it. Quickly, I'll move on to the policy rate, how the interest rate has trended since 2024. We see that at quarter one of 2024, it is at 25%. End of quarter of 2024, what is it? 27%. First quarter of 2025, since the new government took over, it maintained it at 27. And then as of now, we know that it went up by an inch, 1% at 28%. So that's where we stand now, and businesses are hoping that that could change the next time the MPC meets. But traders at Aboso Kai have indicated that it will take at least 3 months for the cedi's appreciation against the dollar to reflect in the cost of items. Recent gains made by the local currency have sparked hope among these business owners who are looking forward to its long-term impact. Let's take a listen to Christian Yale in this.
As of Thursday, May 8th, a dollar was buying at 13 cedis 20 pesos and selling at 13 cedis 30 pesos, according to the Bank of Ghana. Despite the cedi's appreciation, prices of goods on the local market remain unchanged.
So far, so good. Like, it's really helping us.
Traders say they expect to recoup some of their lost capital, adding that this will lessen the high cost of living in the country.
With the appreciation of the cedi against the dollar, we can purchase more at a lesser cost.
Dollar now about from affect the sellers and the buyers.
We hope the dollar would depreciate further to boost trade.
Because a man for part in
Jewa had just received her consignment at the time of our visit. Like others, the downward trend of the dollar and other trading currencies is a huge relief. But she attributes the cedi's gain against the dollar to the ongoing tariff war US President Donald Trump has waged against global economies.
Me person me clear ma obiati asese because of NDC ntina ama dollar no ayede aba form no.
NDC should not think they caused the dollar to fall. Trump's trade war is a major factor.
Aba form de ba still ni sheki kakra.
The traders have welcomed the fall of the dollar against the cedi, but they want the Bank of Ghana to work around the interest rate, for instance, and also grant them more access to capital to undertake their business.
When the policy is high, technically it's going to affect the banks. When they reduce their power, they adjust their policy rates. Technically, the banks are going to reduce their interest rates. We want the Bank of Ghana to come out to tell us the policy rates so that they can tax the interbanks. That's where, and access to credit.
Techiado observed that the impact of the current exchange rate may not be felt immediately.
We are trying hard to talk to our members to reduce some of their components, and it will take at least 2 or 3 months before this reduction will take effect, because some of us have already ordered our goods. At that time, we bought $16 cedis at that time, so now dollar is 13 cedis. Nobody should expect that the dollar is 13 cedis, so automatically we need to reduce our goods and say no.
It is.
Now, President of GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obeng is joining us for a quick conversation on the back of this. Doc, I appreciate your time this afternoon, but traders are saying the impact of the cedi will be felt only after 3 months. Is that what you see also?
Yeah, the market forces will determine, and that's how, you know, we are not in a monopolistic market. Ours is a liberal market, so a very competitive one. So the forces itself, those who got the rate and then are selling now, who got the cheaper rate, will respond to it. You know, our market thrives on turnover, and so if you're able to transfer some of the gains to your consumer, when there's inflation, when the prices are high, our consumers are unable to buy from us. And hence, we are also unable to even service our debts at the bank. And so any business person will want to share any gain with the consumer so that they are able to patronize their ways, so that they will be able to have the turnover that is so much required. And so, yes, you know, in the market space, we have the retailers. The retailers are not importers, and they are many. And so most of the time they buy from the importers and the wholesalers. So this set of people, to tell the truth, they've already bought us at and then replenish with the new prices. Definitely, then what my members are saying is quite true, because that's where the impact is going to be felt. So indeed, it's going to be multifaceted way where others will be quickly to respond, especially the importers, and then those who do not actually trade in the Forex, who normally depend on the importers, will also find some time
I see.
to
Doc,
sell.
another thing, indeed, Doc, let me also invite into the conversation now Duncan Amoah, who is with Quebec, Ghana. Duncan, you know, another thing we expect will be impacted by the Forex appreciation of the cedi is our fuel. Is that a fair expectation? Should we see that go down, you know, costs at the pumps go down soon?
Femi, I share in that position, and we are comparing
well, Duncan, it would appear we are having challenges with your internet, so we'll continue the conversation with Dr. Obing on the subject matter while we fix that connection to you. But Doc, so you were talking to us about you know, the impact it could have, the time frame within which that impact will be felt, and so as consumers, when we come to you, we shouldn't expect that the price of goods will be cheaper.
Oh, okay. So, like I've told you, our market is a consumer's market. It's not the seller's market. And the marketplace is highly competitive. We have so many people trading in the same ways. People having different set of prices depending on when they got their dollar or they get their Forex. So you see that it will be varying, and that the consumer will have to comb the market and reward the one who is selling cheaper and probably punish the one who...
Well, Doc, that sounds like some of you will be at a loss.
Exactly. This is what I'm talking about. But the prudence here is that if you overprice your wares, it means that you are going to be taken out of the market because of competition. And so the prudence here is that some people do their best to weigh their options and reduce even the goods that they bought at a higher price, so that they can go and get the cheaper dollar or the cheaper goods that is being handed by the importers to them. And so definitely, because the reduction here is very significant.
Absolutely.
The import duties is going to be affected positively. We are going to have some gains there. And then when you take the money itself, we are going to change. Let me give you a scenario, because in this case, what we are going to do is also to recoup some of our losses in the past couple of years. I hope you should also understand that we've lost so much in the past, and that the gains here, if in the past we were buying the dollar for 15.5, as you narrated, and now it is average to 13.5. It means that when I'm going to buy dollar, I was going to buy dollar $100,000. I needed 1,550,000 Ghana cedis to get that. Now I need 1 million.
You don't need as much.
And that 1,350,000 means that I have a saving of 200,000 Ghana cedis, which is enough for me to increase my capital.
Absolutely.
At the same time, it doesn't. All should not be taken to recoup the capital. You also have to share some with your consumer, because we are not trading in isolation. We are trading with our customers and our consumers. And so when the consumer is able to buy goods at a cheaper price, it means that your turnover is assured. And that is going to go. Business that we do thrives on turnover. And the competition as it is going to bring the prices to its normal when things settle. Now, like everybody is saying, some have bought at a higher price.
Very well, Doc. Doc, I'm going to come back to you because, you know, while you have mentioned that you would make some gains from changing cedi to dollar to be able to import some of your goods and wares, and for that matter, you'd have money to re-inject as capital into your business. There is also the need that whether or not businesses will have liquidity from the banks in the form of loans cheaper. But before you answer to that, let's take a listen to Duncan now. Duncan, you're joining us over the telephone right now. Should we expect that the price of fuel will change?
Kemini, I think the excuses at this point will not wash for most Ghanaians like myself. For petrol price, and we do deal with two of the indexes, what you will call the spot price and then the forward forecast or the forward rate. The forward rate allows, as it were, the petroleum importation players to sometimes project that by the time I'm done selling my consignment, the cedi could be trading to the dollar at 17, so I would need to factor that into my pricing. Spot pricing says that what the rate is today, you apply that today. Whichever of the two you would apply today, prices ought to come down further. And so I am a bit surprised that we are trying to find excuses at this point to say that it should take 3 months for Ghanaian consumers to see a reflection of the decline of the dollar on our prices. That clearly, I don't think should be allowed to stand, because like you indicated, if you are a trader, if you are a petroleum importer, and you brought in a consignment of $1 million, if you did require just about 2-3 weeks ago, say 15,800,000 Ghana to be able to offset your 1 million, what you would require today is around 13 million, a drop of almost 2 million Ghana cedis. You cannot continue to make those excuses that we have imported and we paid more. You paid more, but you paid the dollar index of more. So if it is $1 million and you required 15.8 million Ghana cedis to offset just a month ago, and today is about 13.2 million Ghana cedis to offset, that difference would have to be passed on. And I'm surprised that some of the Guta folks are trying to rationalize and say that they will have to take 3 months. That cannot be allowed to stand. And I am saying that by Monday, we would also be dealing with the BBC to ensure that whatever it is that the Ghanaian consumer deserves to get at this point, it should happen. We are thinking that... Right,
so I mean, but Duncan, shouldn't they have to get rid of the old stock, which they bought with very expensive dollars?
No, but tell me, you see, dollar is so dollar. A dollar is a dollar. If you brought your stock in last month and you need $10 million to be able to offset your supplier, that $10 million value previously would have been about 158 million Ghana cedis. As I speak with you, if you need the same $10 million from the interbanks or the Bank of Ghana, FX, or even the open market, you would need way less in cedi equivalent to be able to pay off your supplier the same $10 million. That excuse, unfortunately, cannot wash at this point, like I indicated. Two different layers of pricing, spot or forward forecast. Either one you choose at this point, prices ought to drop. And we are quite sure that if Guta would sit with their members and have this discussion, they should be able to pass on
Very well.
or the decline to the market.
Indeed.
We are also taking our fight to the BDCs at this point because clearly the forward forecast that you were used to applying, that allowed you to say that at this point the dollar is 15. By the time I'm done selling in 90 days, it could be 16. So let me apply the 16 so I don't lose. At this point, if you apply the 13, it will simply dictate that you come down on prices without the excuse.
Indeed, gentlemen, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. Duncan Amoa with COPEC, and we have Gutes, Dr. Obeng as well. But, you know, this conversation will continue in your homes and wherever you're watching us from. This is News Central. We'll take our very first break. When we come back, we'll tell you more about how Pope Leo XIV has celebrated his first Mass as the new pontiff. Don't go away. Welcome back. It's still News Central here on TV3. Let's take you to the Vatican now. Pope Leo XIV has celebrated his first Mass as the new pontiff. He told cardinals in the Sistine Chapel that he hopes his election can help the Catholic Church bring light to the dark nights of this world. Beginning the Mass in English, the new pontiff told the assembled cardinals that he believed he could rely on their support as the Catholic Church continues its mission to spread the faith. He called on the Church to do more work where there is a lack of faith and in places where technology, money, success, power, or pleasure are preferred. Pope Leo, the 69-year-old Chicago-born priest, is seen as a reformer and worked for many years as a missionary in Peru, which he reportedly calls his second homeland. He has a daunting task ahead, ranging from a budget shortfall to divisions over whether the church should be more welcoming towards the LGBTQ community and divorcees, and whether women should play a greater role in the church's affairs. Well, let's have a conversation on the back of this and what this very first Mass means to Catholics across the world, but particularly those here in Ghana. Reverend Father Andrew Campbell is an Irish-Ghanaian Catholic missionary here in this country. He's been here the last 46 years or so. Reverend,
yes,
good afternoon to you, Father.
Good afternoon.
Oh, great. Let's talk about First Mass today. How significant is it?
Yes, the Pope met all the cardinals today, the Sistine Chapel, and he talked to them. And he told them, look, let's work together as a family. I need you. I need to walk hand in hand with you. That's how, what he told them. Let's be together, working as a team, being together. That we have to be that light in the dark areas of the world. That's what he talked about. We have to be a light in the dark areas. So many dark areas of the world brought about by materialism and other things. And he said we need to be that light in the dark area of the world. That's what he did.
Father, I mean, when you look at Pope Leo, he's a rather young man, 69 years. He's only been created cardinal some 2 years now. Talk to us about what that means for the Vatican, what it means for Catholics across the world, and really what it means for the rest of us.
The background of Pope Leo, his 30 years as a missionary priest in Peru, when he even became a Peruvian with a Peruvian passport, his work there for 30 years certainly made him what he is now, working there as a missionary priest. And he was made a bishop, then he was made an archbishop. And then just a year and a half ago, the Pope brought him to Rome and made him a cardinal. And he's only cardinal for about 1 year and 3/4, and then he's made Pope. So people saw in him somebody who could lead the church after Francis. They saw him because before he was made bishop, he was the superior general of the Augustinian congregation. Twice he was elected there, and he was twice elected as the superior general for 2 full terms. The superior general took after the whole world, all the Augustinian priests all over the whole world. So people saw in him, this man is a good man, and he'd be able to help us. His stand on, on immigration, stand on the poor and the needy, his stand on human rights. So, and then when he was made the cardinal in charge of bishops, the department of bishops, he knew all the bishops well. And he was there appointing the bishops. I mean, they saw in him something. They saw in him something that would be able to carry on the tradition of Pope Francis.
I see Father Campbell. We'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. Reverend Father Campbell is an Irish Ghanaian priest, missionary here in Ghana. We've been talking about Pope Leo the 14th and what his first mass means for Catholics here in this country. We can now bring you Regional Hub. Now, residents of Kojokrom, a suburb of the Sekondi Takoradi metropolis, are calling for a quick intervention in their rail transport as trains operating there have been grounded since 2023. They lament that the situation is seriously affecting their economy. Irama Smith is now joining us with more from the Western region. Irama, good afternoon to you. This situation that you report to us, how is it affecting transportation? Why have the trains been grounded in the first place?
Right. So, you know, the road transport has always been subvented by government over the years. And when it comes to the Kojokrom train station, even though the road transport costs 50 pesos, that's the sort of, when you get to the railways or use train, they are able to charge only 3 cedis or 4 cedis because their fares are determined by government. Now they complain that they are unable to break even because they have to buy the fuel and also maintenance costs and all that. So apart from the fact that one of the trains that they tell us that the fuse has been blown there, the basic issue is that they are unable to break even. They are unable to buy fuel. I've been speaking to the train or the station master, Mr. Joseph Ebina. Take a listen.
From Kwame Nkrumah's time and even through Achampon's time, railways have always received subvention from government for operations. This is what we came to meet and work with. So it is government who determines the fare for rail transport, and we use that to buy fuel. But this is not forthcoming. Before the elections in 2016, we were working, but this came to a halt in 2016 because the government said it would not pay any subvention.
I also asked earlier, you know, what the situation is on the ground.
Right, it's very dire. You know, when we talk about the Kojokrom main station, this is a place that hitherto you had goods being transported from Awalsu to Dukwa on Ofin and then brought here to Kojokrom, from Pistia to Takwa, from Kede and all that. So it was really a hot place, if I should say it that way, trading, selling and buying going on. But now it's virtually dead. There is nothing happening there. And you know, when this happens, it means that many people become unemployed. So even apart from that, you know, one other thing is also the fact that people are now paying more for transportation, and then the time spent on the road from Kojokrom to Takoradi, the traffic and all that, and as I indicated earlier, you have to pay 6 cedis, 50 pesos, while the train was comparatively cheaper. You may listen to some of the rest.
Indeed, we'll do that in later broadcast. Thank you so much for bringing us the story. Rama Smith is our Western region correspondent. We'll take you up north now, where some disgruntled youth of Bole in the Savannah region have taken to the streets to burn lorry tires in their bid to register their displeasure over the nomination of Abdullahi Mahmoud as the municipal chief executive for Bole. This is the second time the youth have taken to the street to protest the president's nominee. The confirmation of the president's nominee, which was scheduled to take place on Wednesday, May 7th, has since been postponed indefinitely to allow for an enlargement or engagement with the youth. Christopher Mwako has been following this story. Christopher, Tell us what really the concerns of the youth are concerning the president's nominees at this point.
Yes, so Kemini, this is a group known in Bole as the Arise Bole Youth Group that is protesting the nomination of Abdullahi Mahmoud. And for them, in recent past, the nominee has written certain things on his social media handles on the Bole chieftaincy issue. And so they believe that is not supposed to be given the opportunity, even though he hails from that area. They also allege that he did not participate or contribute in the 2024 election outcomes of the Bole constituency, and so the president should withdraw his nomination. These youth, when they took this decision, went to the Bole to inform him about their decision and the fact that they will not allow the nominee to go through the confirmation processes. This resulted in some party people, including other stakeholders like the Savannah Regional Representative of the Council of State, calling on the youth to, as it were, calm them down so that the confirmation processes will go on. But the youth have since rejected this call and are bent on embarking on several demonstrations.
Indeed, Christopher, more on the story later tonight. Thank you so much for talking to us. Christopher Mwako is our Savannah region correspondent, bringing an end to Regional Hub. We'll take another break. When we come back, a few more stories. We call it a day.
Impressor oil and capsules are carefully formulated to give fast relief from pains associated with arthritis.
At the Accra Sports Stadium as the darkest happening recorded in recent years as bitter rivals Asante Kotoko and Accra Hearts of Oak squared off in the Ghana Premier League 24 years ago in 2021. The event took the lives of about 127 people, making it the worst stadium disaster to have occurred on the continent. Let's have a conversation on the back of this. Bole is here with us. Obviously, this day is very supposed to be very somber, but do the Ghanaian people still remember it?
Yeah, there's always been a lot of talk with regards to the main night. Personally, I was a very young kid then when it happened, but I saw bits of it on the graphic and bits of it on the screen as well. And we've seen over the years, I think personally, that it's triggered a chain of events that has led to a point where now a lot of Ghanaians who have passion for Ghanaian football and usually troop to the stadiums don't usually troop to the stadiums these days. I mean, just the recent super clash between Asante Kotoko and Hearts of Oak, we had scores of empty seats at the Accra Sports Stadium. This is how low we've sunk, and I think it all started from that moment and subsequent moments where we saw pockets of violence happen.
But are there national events to commemorate the day?
So the sports minister went to the Accra Sports Stadium to sort of remember that event once again, and it's sort of a usual thing that they do every year. Last year, I remember the Ghana Football Association's president, Keto Kraku, also visited, some places and also tried to, mourn or commemorate that particular event. But it's always a sad event. It's not one that anyone wants to remember.
Indeed. And the pictures we are seeing from the event this year?
Yes.
I see.
Yes.
So that's Yampo Ankra, laying the wreath there in remembrance of the 127 souls that were lost 24 years ago. During the May 9th disaster at the Accra Sports Stadium. But we've been gathering some views as well. What have people been saying?
Yeah, we're going to start off from the main clubs of which that particular event started with. Hearts of Oak was one of them. Of course, they defeated Asante Kotoko by 2-1 in that particular game. And this is what they are saying on social media. Rivals on the pitch, united in grief. Today, we pause to honor those we lost on that tragic day. Gone but never forgotten. 24 years on, their memory lives in every kick, every chant, every moment of silence. Drop a heart if you remember. Also, Kotoko themselves, who lost to Hearts of Oak on that day. 24 years ago today, a thick, dark cloud engulfed our country. Not from flames, but from the tragedy of losing about 126 innocent lives to a stadium disaster. As you observe this day in grief, we will continue to mourn our fallen sons and daughters and forever stand against any form of violence at our match venues. And also, the president of the Ghana Football Association, that is Kurt Simeon Edwin Okraku, said this in his post on social media. This morning, I joined fellow mourners at the forecourt of the Accra Sports Stadium to mark a solemn remembrance of one of the darkest days in African football history. It was at this very venue 24 years ago today that, football fans past tragically lost their lives during that league match between the two clubs as well.
Indeed, Bill, I appreciate you coming in the studio to talk to us about this. Thank you so much. Bole is a sports journalist here at TV3. We've been talking about that rather tragic incident that occurred 24 years ago where 127 people died during a football game here in Accra. And in the bulletin today, I'm so glad you could make time to watch us. We'll be back on Monday with another edition of News Central. I'll see you a little later tonight on Ghana Tonight. But do join us at 7 p.m. for News 360. There's more news on 3news.com. I'm Kamini Amano. Bye-bye.